you're willing to use anything at your disposal to lose weight fast, then the dark tactic that I'm going over in today's video will be perfect for you. Most people wouldn't want to use this because it's negative, because it creates a negative state of mind, and we should never feel negative, right? But that's exactly why we're here. If I never felt negative about where I was, about how I gained 80 pounds of fat, if I never felt negative about how I got rejected by 7 girls back to back, if I never felt negative about where I was, I wouldn't have made the change to become a better version of myself. I would have stayed obese. I would have stayed eating like how I was eating. I would have been on track to become morbidly obese, 400 pounds. And in order for this dark tactic to work, we need to first understand why we eat these bad foods. Why, when we're on a diet and we know we shouldn't be eating sugar, we shouldn't be eating ice cream or desserts, why do we end up eating them anyways? And it turns out that the answer is pretty simple. If you've ever tried a diet before, you know what foods are bad. You know you shouldn't be eating ice cream, pizza, sugar. These are usually consistent on every single diet that people try. But the way that we fail these diets are because we eat these foods, right? Sometimes we binge eat them. Sometimes we eat thousands of calories. I've definitely done that. I've ate 3,000 calorie pizzas, 2,000 calorie ice creams, thousands of calories of chips. And while I'm eating these foods, deep down, I know that it will make me fatter. I know it will make me feel like crap, but I'll still just keep eating it. I'm sure you have too. So why is that? It turns out that humans are pretty simple. Every action we take, and especially every food that we eat, only happens because we were rewarded to do it or eat it in the past. I want you to imagine your favorite food. Maybe it's pizza, ice cream, maybe it's an ethnic dessert or food you have in your family. When you imagine it in your head and it's really fresh, it smells really good, or you're actually eating it and it tastes really, really nice, don't you feel at least a little bit of a craving for it? The only reason you feel that craving for the specific thing you're imagining is because you've had it thousands of times and you've been rewarded by it. It's the same as when you tell a dog to sit and then you feed it a treat after. If you do that enough times and you just tell the dog to sit, it will just start to sit even without the treat. We've gotten rewarded so many times by all of these foods that we feel intense cravings for them. But why does our brain reward us for these unhealthy foods that are making our health worse, that are causing us to be fat, that we don't actually want to eat? It turns out that these sugary, delicious, fatty foods makes our brains go crazy because 99.99% of humans who have ever lived on this planet, so going back millions of years, all of these different humans never for once in their life had access to something as delicious and sugary as a 50-cent donut. Never once in their entire life have they had something as good as a scoop of ice cream, as a slice of pizza. It's only in the last couple hundred years, and especially the last few decades, that we have such an abundant access to these delicious fatty foods. And evolution takes a lot longer than a few decades or a couple centuries. And so our brains are still stuck in that mindset where sugar, fat, all these really delicious things are the most rewarding, pleasurable things that we can get access to. So whenever you eat one of these sugary, delicious, fatty foods, your brain will go crazy and then tell you like, oh, I need more of this, I need more of this, because it thinks it's never gonna get it again. We do what we are positively reinforced to do. And the opposite is also true, and this is the reason the dark tactic will make you lose weight. I want you to imagine that you walk up to a campsite and there's a fire in the middle, and you walk right up to it and you put your hand straight into the fire. That's a little bit extreme. I want you to imagine that the stove is on in your kitchen and you put your hand on the stove. It feels kind of uncomfortable and a little bit painful to imagine these things, right? The only reason that you won't put your hand on a stove or in a fire is because you know you will feel pain if you do it. But how do you know that? Maybe as a kid you actually did it. Maybe you put your hand on the stove or in the fire and you got burned and you're like, oh shit, I'm never doing that again. For most of us, we never actually did the painful thing, but maybe our parents told us, or maybe we just imagined what would happen if we were to put our hand on the flame. We imagined the pain. And so without actually feeling the negative experience, we imagined the negative experience, and that negatively reinforced us to not do the thing. So how does this relate to weight loss? The dark tactic is to find a way to negatively reinforce yourself from eating the bad foods, the sugary, delicious, fatty foods that make us break our diet and gain weight. But how do we create this negative reinforcement? These foods are so rewarding. I was just telling you you earlier that our brains are in the scarcity mode and they reward it over everything else. I found this technique in a book from the 90s titled Awaken the Giant Within. The technique allows you to create pain towards a behavior you want to stop. You're able to create a negative reinforcement without actually feeling any physical pain. The first step is to know what behavior you're stopping. And you have to be specific. You can't just say, I want to stop eating bad foods. You have to be extremely specific, like what exact food. I'm going to use sugar in my example because in most diets you want to stop eating sugar. And in general, there's just so many health benefits to quitting sugar. But you can replace sugar for any specific food you know you want to stop. Maybe for you, you indulge in ice cream or cake. Maybe you're putting sugar in your coffee. Just be very specific when you're doing this exercise. Get out a sheet of paper and write at the top, what will I lose if I don't quit sugar? Then under it, write these different categories: physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and in relationships. Now I want you to go through and answer what you would lose in each of these categories if you don't quit sugar. And I also want you to lie. Not exactly lie, but exaggerate what you would lose so that it creates an emotion inside of you. The only way this exercise works is that if you feel the negative reinforcements, you have to force yourself to feel an emotion of negativity in order to tell your brain this is bad, this is painful. Write anything. Go as far as your brain can imagine, as long as you can create this negative emotion. I'll give you an example. Physically, if I don't quit sugar, I will never get my dream body. I will feel insecure at the beach. I won't take off my shirt. I'll feel insecure in the bedroom. The lights will always be off. I'll always be tugging at my shirt because I think my belly looks fat. I will never know what my body is truly capable of looking like. You see how I exaggerated enough to actually make me pissed off, to actually make me feel some sort of way? You have to tap into your deepest fears for this exercise. Let's do another example for in relationships. If I don't quit sugar, I will feel so inauthentic and insecure because I couldn't lose the weight. I won't be my most real self around my friends, and they'll end up leaving me for someone better. I will never find and marry the woman of my dreams because I could never become the best version of myself. If I don't quit sugar, my future wife will end up as someone else's wife. Something like that. Make sure you go far enough that you get really pissed off, emotional, sad, mad, any negative emotion. And you'll find that the next time you have to decide whether you're going to eat sugar, drink sugar, or you're going to stick to your diet, you'll be much more likely to make the right choice. It's not like these emotions will come back and you'll feel sad, mad, or pissed off in the moment, but the craving for it will be reduced because it's almost like you're putting something else on the balance beam. If the balance beam was towards the pleasure side, if you can create more pain on the other side, it's becoming more even and you can make a better decision. And it might be confusing to fill in categories like financially and spiritually, but get creative here. Like you might say, if I don't quit sugar, I'll never be focused enough in order to work on my dream business. Or for spirituality, you could say, if I don't quit sugar, I will never truly be happy and authentic because I couldn't lose the weight. I couldn't do a goal that I told myself I was gonna make. Do this exercise as much as possible until you get to that point where you're just not eating sugar anymore, you're not doing that behavior, and you can start doing it less. And if you want help with this process and also a personalized diet and exercise plan, along with video calls and constant texting with me, you basically just get to access my brain, someone who's actually done this transformation before. Go down and hit the top link in the description to book a call with me, and let's see if we're a good fit. Thanks so much for watching the video. If you got any value from this, hit the like, comment, and subscribe button because that will tell the algorithm to push this to more people, which will help them lose weight and spend more time on this planet with their loved ones. And if you want to keep learning more, watch this next video.